Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is not messing around, man. I love this lady. She's awesome. She's doing a phenomenal job. She is really giving the federal government not really much leeway, right? The federal government's been blocking so many things that Alberta does. It's just pathetic. And Danielle Smith is stuck in this kind of perpetual loop where she wants to do things and she can't do them because the federal government's blocking them. Until very recently, Danielle Smith has issued warnings saying if the federal government and other provinces aren't willing to work with Alberta for Alberta oil, for Alberta pipeline and stuff like that, then she's just going to kind of go her own way. And then you have a lot of other things in the background that are changing with Alberta, such as the, police force. Right now it's governed by the RCMP, but Alberta is going to be releasing their own Alberta police force, which is pretty cool. And that's something even as small as license plates. Alberta is changing their license plates to be potentially a little bit more Americanized, even though it has a quote from the Canadian anthem, Strong and Free, on it now. It's a little bit more Americanized. We're going to be taking a look at that. Some questions by reporters towards Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, and she does a phenomenal job of navigating it. And then we also have to take a look at, this is a two-part video. We also have to take a look at Chinese electric vehicles, specifically the tariffs around them, because Canada has 100% tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, and China says, okay, we're going to put like crazy tariffs on your farmers because China buys a lot of canola oil, canola seed from our farmers in predominantly Saskatchewan. And now it's kind of a Mexican standoff of who's going to do the next thing first. And it's not looking good for Canada. When we look at a war of attrition or any sort of trade war, Canada versus America, Canada's going to lose. Canada versus China, Canada's going to lose. Canada versus Canada, Canada loses. So it seems like we're on a big losing streak. So of course we've compiled everything and put it into this video. All I ask in return is for you guys to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It'd be super awesome, and it's absolutely free to do. And without further ado, let's get into it, starting off with Danielle Smith.
There was consensus when Donald Trump got elected, more or less consensus as to what we as a nation need to do. Broad strokes, right? We had to tear down interprovincial trade barriers. We had to start building out our resource sector. And more or less everyone started buying into that. Does it feel like that's slowing down?
Well, I believe my fellow premier said the prime minister when they said that they wanted to do all of those things. It's part of the reason why we've decided to be a proponent on accelerating the idea of a West Coast BC pipeline. We know that we need that if we're going to open up new markets.
Yeah.
The best place to do that is in Asia. They already receive some of our product through Trans Mountain. The project that should have gotten built that got canceled by the predecessor government of Justin Trudeau, Northern Gateway, was approved and they canceled it. So we figured that this is a time to restart that conversation, and we're going to see whether or not there have been a lot of people wrapping themselves in the Canadian flag.
Yeah.
And now we actually see whether or not they're willing to walk that talk. I am. I've been here for exactly that reason. Let's find ways to work together. I promote every project of all of my peers, all of the premiers. I don't think there's a single one that I've opposed. And I would just hope that we'd be able to get that same consensus.
If the feds are not willing to work with Premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith, she's going to go and do what she needs to do. And I fully support that. And now we got to take a look at the license plate ordeal, because reporters are trying to basically say that Alberta, the Premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith, is only basically fixing the license plates or changing the license plates as a distraction, as if people can't walk and chew gum at the same time, which is very, very bizarre. So we're going to take a look now at a series of different compilations of Danielle Smith handling these weird and awkward reporters. Here we go.
And I mean, you say this is the fun event, but I mean, there's a lot of other priorities in the province right now. There's like 25 communities where there's ER closures, bed closures. There's 700,000 students out of classrooms right now. So why, again, to Jeremy's question, like, why was this the priority right now?
Well, government doesn't stop because you've got important things that you need to do. You figure out how to do the important things, and there's important things in every ministry. Every single person who drives on the road has to drive a license plate. And so we have to make a decision on what that license plate looks like. And so this is the timing that worked out. The minister's been working on this for some months, and so we wanted to be able to get an answer so that we could be able to roll out the new design in the new year.
Thank you. We'll go to Sean, and then we'll go back into the gray.
Premier, you say that Albertans need license plates. I have a license plate. Mm-hmm. You have a license plate. So again, I guess why now? I don't think we're getting a clear answer on that. As Catherine pointed out, there's a lot of things going on in the province right now, and some people are saying this is a distraction by your government to distract from other things.
No, there's no distraction. I have meetings every day about our plans on doing a deep dive into Royal Alex. I'm going to be speaking to the Alberta Continuing Care Association later today. I'll be going to speak to the Chamber of Commerce tomorrow. I had a tech meeting last night. Every minister has priorities that I've given them in their mandate letter. We have something like 276 items that we put in the mandate letter, and we have brand new mandates as well. So I don't expect each minister to stop what they're doing in their portfolio when there's important things going on. I can do more than one thing, and the minister can do as well. So that's part of the reason this is part of his mandate.
In 2014, when you were asked about Wild Rose Country being removed from the plates, you said it was transparently politically motivated. Of course, you were the Wild Rose leader at the time. What's the change of heart there? Why should we ditch that motto now when you supported it in the past?
Well, I also joked that it was great to have advertising for the political party I represented at that time on the back of every license plate. This, as the minister pointed out, this is neutral language. This is in the national anthem. This is mentioned in speeches from every person from every political stripe, and is also our provincial motto. It's actually sort of odd that this wasn't on the license plate to begin with, since it's our provincial motto. So I would say that there's nothing political on this one.
Hi, yeah. So my question has to do with the fact that some American states allow for more personalized license plates, like Texas, for example, lets you work with like private companies to personalize your license plate. So would you guys ever consider something like that?
Well, based on the current technology that we have, no, we're not. But we're modernizing all of our registries. And once we've modernized our motor vehicles, we will have that capacity to do that. So we haven't made that decision to do that because we don't have the technology to do it. But once we modernize, we can have that conversation.
Okay. And do you potentially have like a timeline for how long that would take, or no?
For the modernization of registries?
Yes.
We've already started that, and we anticipate that it'll be, for the most part, it'll be done by the end of 2026.
Perfect. And that'll conclude today's press conference. Thanks, everyone, for joining. And
let me know what you guys think down below about that. And it doesn't end there. The weirdness does continue, especially with CTV. Someone sits down one-on-one with Vashi Kapelos, the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association, to discuss how Canada's 100% tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles is somehow a good thing, even though it hurts us because Canadians are buying electric vehicles at double the price of what we could be buying them at. And then it also hurts our farmers, which is costing us even more money. Yeah, what could go wrong? Let's have a look.
The Chinese ambassador used the word unjustified to characterize the initial set of tariffs on electric vehicles, which were applied about a year ago by the then federal government under Prime Minister Trudeau. In your view, I know you take a different view. Why, in your view, are they justified?
They are extremely justified because the Chinese economic model follows a very simple formula: scale, dump, and destroy. They've scaled their industry through massive subsidies. $230 billion have gone into the EV industry. Then they dump the excess product abroad. China is going to be exporting, by the end of this decade, almost 10 million vehicles abroad. And then they destroy the industries in those markets by using predatory pricing and undermining the industrial sectors in those target export destinations. We cannot allow that to happen, and that's why the federal government took the actions that it did. They put in place a tariff to protect our market. It is the right move, and regardless of what the ambassador is saying, we cannot change that stance.
How has it, if at all, Flavio, protected the domestic market here? Because I think Canadians will be well aware of a lot that has changed in the interim, right? In that last year politically, particularly south of the border, and the policies pursued there around electric vehicles. Like, has this had the desired impact on the industry?
Well, the thing that we had asked for was to say, look, if manufacturers and the supply chain and the raw materials suppliers in the critical minerals and then also in steel and aluminum are going to have a chance in electrifying, and we've been pushing very hard for electrification because I think it plays to Canadian strengths, then we need to put these tariffs in place to buy some time with the Chinese. When Brian says they will be exporting 10 million vehicles a year, your viewers should know that's 10% of the world's market being exported from China at a subsidized rate. That's about as many vehicles are manufactured in the U.S., which a lot of you viewers might think is the world's biggest auto manufacturing play, but they make 11 million cars a year in that market. This scale, dump, and destroy is what they did in consumer electronics and what they did in solar. And, you know, I know that this is a tense moment when we have a trade fight with the two world's biggest economic superpowers, but giving up the market for no reason it doesn't work out for anybody, whether that's people who work in automotive or people who work in lumber or people who work in farming. And then again, and I'll just say this, I don't know why we're taking the cues from the Chinese ambassador. He was sent from Beijing. And it's very disappointing to hear premiers work off the cue from your interview to tell the rest of Canadians what we should be doing out loud.
But wait, there's more, because just a couple of days ago, Vashi Capello sat down with the Chinese ambassador to Canada to discuss Chinese tariffs and the trade war that Canada currently has with China. Let's have a look at that.
I'm going to start right away on the primary irritant between Canada and China right now, and that is the tariffs on electric vehicles and tariffs on canola and other agricultural products. I have a very simple question. Are the tariffs on Canadian agricultural products directly on there because of the EV tariffs?
I think the question you have raised touches the crux of the problems in our trade relations. I agree with what you said, that China's tariffs on Canadians' agricultural products are a countermeasure against the EV tariffs and the unilateral unjustified tariffs on China's steel and aluminum products. And I have said multiple times, if Canada is ready to correct these practices, China will also respond accordingly.
Can I follow up then and ask very bluntly, if Canada removes the tariffs on Chinese EVs, China will then remove tariffs on Canadian agricultural products?
So if Canada removes the unilateral unjustified tariffs on Chinese products, China will also reciprocate accordingly. And if the EV tariffs are removed, then China will also remove the tariffs on the relevant products of Canada.
So Canada maintains that those tariffs, or has maintained until very recently, I should say, that those tariffs are justified. I know that China does not feel that they're justified, as you just pointed out. I do want to ask, though, against the backdrop of the proposition from China to Canada, the one we discussed last time, of expanding our relationship based on, I believe, what you called mutual practical interests. Would it be naive of Canada to expand a relationship wherein, you know, for example, on canola, most of our canola goes to China, and you have used that specific agricultural good to essentially retaliate against Canada? Like you've used the fact that we depend on China as a primary export market to exploit it. Would it be naive of us to expand a relationship wherein that is what's happening?
Well, the essence of bilateral trade cooperation and trade relationship is mutually beneficial and win-win. If you look at the history of the past decades of China-Canada relationship, you will see that in trade, we have achieved fruitful outcomes. And these outcomes are the result of mutual respect and win-win cooperation and mutual benefit. And what I want to say is that the trade disputes between China and Canada are not caused by China. In China, we say the one who tied the knot should be the one who unties it. So China is not the one to blame in this whole process, in this whole situation. And the problem was caused by Canada. So if Canada took the initiative to correct its policies, China will adjust accordingly.
As you can see, there's not a whole lot of wiggle room. Everyone thinks that they're in the right, nobody's in the wrong, and we know the truth lies with the government. The federal government is incompetent on so many levels. But hey, elbows up. People voted for this, and now we're stuck with it for probably 4 or maybe even more years than that. This is unfortunately the sad reality of Canada, which is why Canada is slowly collapsing. People think that it's just a joke, that no, Canada can never collapse. That's never going to happen. Come on. We've got street signs, we've got street lights, we've got railways, we've got planes, we've got skyscrapers. Canada can never collapse. I think they said the same thing about Rome. Maybe not the technology, but this is a sad reality that Canada is not in a position to be in any trade war, let alone with China, let alone with America. But here we are. So I want to pass the question off to you as we end the video. What do you think about all this? Do you support Danielle Smith with her, basically taking on the David and Goliath story, taking on the federal government? And what do you think about the Chinese electric vehicle tariffs? Should we remove the tariffs so that they remove the tariffs on our farmers? Let me know what you guys think. As always, thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in another video. Bye for now.